Hello and welcome to another segment of Pearced Off, the Skepticule Podcast segment of counter-apologetics and general philosophy and ramblings from me, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. So today I'm going to talk about something topical. Whether it's still topical when you listen to this is another question. And the point I want to make today concerns the recent, as in I think yesterday, supposed banning of the Lord's Prayer adverts in cinemas across major cinema chains in the UK. And this is how it's been reported across the media. In fact, I sent an email to the BBC website, to ask them to change the terminology they were using, and they in fact oblige and have done so, which is really cool. However, they're still reporting it on the actual TV news, and across all the media outlets I've seen, from The Guardian to The Telegraph to The Daily Mail, they're reporting this as a ban of the Lord's Prayer advert. So what's happened is the Church of England have got together and made an advert of the Lord's Prayer being said by different people, sung by different people throughout the country, from a weightlifter to the Archbishop of Canterbury to like randoms and whatnot. And I suppose the idea is that the advert reignites people's passion for Christ, if you like, and gets you in tune with the, real reason underlying Christmas, with that creed. So what happened is that a company decided not to run the advert. A company, DCM, decided not to run the advert. And in fact, I'll just read to you what the BBC have reported it as. So the Church of England said it's disappointed and bewildered by the refusal of leading UK cinemas to show an advert featuring the Lord's Prayer. The Church called the decision plain silly and warned it could have a chilling effect on free speech. It had hoped the 60-second film would be screened UK-wide before Christmas ahead of the new Star Wars film. The agency that handles adverts for the cinema said it could offend those of differing faiths and no faith. The advert features the Christian prayer being recited or sung by a variety of people, so on and so forth. The advert was passed uncut by the British Board of Film Classification, given a use certificate, as well as receiving clearance from the Cinema Advertising Authority. However, the Digital Cinema Media, DCM agency, which handles British film advertising for the major cinema chains, Odeon, Cineworld and View, refused to show the advert because it believed that it would risk upsetting or offending audiences. In a statement, DCM said it had a policy of not accepting political or religious advertising content in its cinemas. It said that, quote, some advertisements, unintentionally or otherwise, could cause offence to those of differing political persuasions, as well as those of differing faiths and indeed of no faith, and that, in this regard, DCM treats all political or religious beliefs equally, which the Church has really reacted against and is threatening legal action. So this is my comment now. I think there's lots to unpick here, but I was angry with the reporting of this to say it's a ban, because it's not. A cinema adverts supply company has chosen not to run some adverts. There's no banning involved. The company, DCM, supplies some of the top cinema chains who, as a result, will not be running the advert, but not because they chose not to, but because the company who supplies them has chosen not to. And the definition of a ban, the standard definition is officially or legally prohibit something, or officially prevent something or someone from doing something. So there's no legal prohibition going on here. There's a mere decision not to run something from a private entity. Corporations have legal identity quite similar to an individual, and that's problematic for its own reasons, but that's how it is. If I refuse to add coffee to my shopping list, my supermarket cannot have me up for being anti-coffee. Yes, I see that there could be a case for religious discrimination. In fact, that's what the Church is going for, but that's not actually what's going on here. First of all, why did they refuse to run it? Well, they've had experience of running Scottish independence during the referendum, adverts both for the yes and the no campaign, and they were met with lots of negativity, and people didn't like going to the cinema to see these kind of things, or just want to go there for escapism, and no matter what side of the debate they're on, there was negativity met with them. So as a result, a policy comes about to say, look, we're not going to show political, religious, ideological adverts because it's not what the consumers wants, right? So it's not a decision born of discrimination, but one of strategic commercial choice, especially when, according to the British Attitude Survey, the majority of the UK feels themselves as belonging to no religion, let alone being Christians and those who want to hear the Lord's Prayer in a cinema. And yeah, you might cry, well, bakeries and cakes and gay people. Recently, the bakery that refused to serve gay people on account of their religious position were then forced to, because you can't discriminate against certain groups of people when offering goods or services. However, the difference here is that the media have editorial discretion over what they show or write or publish, and it's a very different case than not being able to serve certain people. In America, this is protected by the First Amendment. I won't go into that, but if we look at what would happen if we took this to the extreme, is that anyone that provides an advert or pays for something to be published, whether it be in a cinema advert or in a newspaper or on a TV channel, would therefore have full rights to do so, and the desires and rights of the media outlets would be completely quashed. Okay, so in other words, imagine the Guardian newspaper. I'm a right-wing ideologue, and I present all these adverts to fill up almost an entire paper with pro-Tory propaganda, or pro, I don't know, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, atheist propaganda, just the whole thing. In this ridiculous extreme, of course, they wouldn't have a right to refuse this. They would have no editorial discretion. So, of course, that's ridiculous. So, therefore, they need to have the rights over their editorial contents. And, in fact, that's been upheld in courts, both in America and also in Europe. I've found some court ruling. Here's a quote from a source, a human rights source, which talks about the European Convention of Human Rights making a ruling, and I will quote this. However, this is a quote. However, the Strasbourg court unanimously decided that the guarantee of freedom of expression had not been breached. The court held that privately owned newspapers must be free to exercise editorial discretion in deciding whether to publish material submitted to the editorial team. In the view of the European Commission on Human Rights, the state's obligation to ensure the individual's freedom of expression does not mean that such individuals have an unrestricted access to the media in order to publish any content whatsoever. The court also resolved that the media had the right to establish and apply their own policies in respect to advertisements. The ECTHR, which is the European Convention, further noted that the newspaper's refusal to publish the applicant's advert did not deprive him of the ability to disseminate or otherwise market the book itself. So think here in the case of the Lord's Prayer advert, of course the church still has other options to market that idea. HFHR, you can go and look at the original source for this to get the finer details, has filed an amicus curiae belief in the proceedings pending before the European Convention. Quote, in the brief we argued that the case is of significant importance in the context of the Convention radiating onto relations between individuals. We emphasised on a number of occasions that guarantees of the freedom of expression should be respected not only in state-citizen relationships but also in dealings between private entities. So, end of quotes. So here we have the idea of people not being able to just dictate to media outlets what the content should be. You know, the chaos that would come about if that was allowed would just render media outlets meaningless and pointless, as any consumer would have the right to just whack whatever they want in newspapers, on TVs, and in cinema adverts. So I'm annoyed that this case. About this case, that the media has actually very badly reported this and used terminology which has given ammunition to Christians and the religious right, saying that that they're discriminated against when they haven't been. This is a strategic commercial decision, and it's just a simple incorrect use of the word ban. It's irresponsible. So there you go, that's my rant today. Whether they should or shouldn't run that, whether that is a correct strategic decision, and of course with the backlash of social media and media, is another question which I'm sure you guys will be able to talk about. Anyway, question everything. I've been Jonathan M.S. Pearce. Drop by my blog at